for everyone here, I wanted to say thank you for joining us. We have a great session planned for you today. We'll be talking about reverification season, and we have a recorded session from our guest speaker, Kathleen D'Angelo, who's a part of Archbow Consulting. Just so everyone knows what's in store today, we have a short agenda. We will have an introduction to Carvizo. We have our CBO and co-founder, Perry Demas, on the line today, and he'll take us through that and give us a little bit more information on Carvizo. We also have a session, the recorded session from Kathleen D'Angelo, where she'll talk about how to navigate reverification season. And then we'll move into how to work with Carvizo and what's needed to prepare for reverification season. We have our Chief Strategy Officer, Rachel Gallant, on the line today, who will also go through that. And lastly, we'll round us out with a live Q&A session. As I mentioned, Kathleen D'Angelo is not live on the line, but we will have Rachel and Perry here to answer any questions then. Additionally, for the Q&A, you can submit your questions with the Q&A function on the webinar at any point, and then we'll just be answering them at that later point in the session today. So with that, we can go ahead and kick us off, and I will hand the mic over to Perry.
Thanks, Lauren. Well, I just wanted to give an overview of Carvizo, where we started, why we position ourselves the way that we did, and how it's evolved into the company that it is today. So we started in 2017 when there was an urgent need for the diagnostic companies, the laboratories, because they were no longer able to do their own prior authorizations. Some of the major national health plans were no longer allowing the laboratories to do their own prior authorizations. They wanted the physicians to do the prior authorizations for them. So we stepped in, confirmed that that was indeed a problem for the laboratories. They confirmed it. And so we started performing prior authorizations. And the reason, or the way that we started doing that was we enrolled physicians. So that's where you see the 300,000 enrolled physicians. So to date, we have 300,000 physicians enrolled. And what that means is we have signed agreements with each one of these physicians and the practices to be able to perform administrative services on their behalf. And on the right of this, on the left side of the slide, you see the penetration of OBGYNs being almost 80%, and 30% of all oncologists are now enrolled in our network. So we began in 2017 performing those administrative services on behalf of the physician for their patients to do prior authorizations in the lab space. And we do about 1 million prior authorizations a year. And what you see of 150,000 price transparencies, we'll get into more of that. And price transparency, or Seeker, is the product's name. We do about 150,000 transactions per month. And what that is basically is electronic benefit verification, benefit investigation on behalf of the member/patient. So that's how we started. And the next slide kind of gives you an overview for our positioning with all of you, the hub or the patient service center, and the manufacturer, the pharmaceutical manufacturer. So our purpose is to come alongside you to enable that patient to get access to that drug, procedure, test that is necessary so that they get on therapy as quickly as possible. So what happens is the provider, let's say an oncologist, orders a drug. It goes into the hub or directly into the internal pharmaceutical manufacturer's hub. And at that point, we've set up APIs with our clients mainly, in which we'd receive that information. And there's numerous databases that we've created over the years. And that's 1 through 6 on the bottom there. So what we're doing is, first and foremost, we're finding out, is that provider the one who is going to be doing the billing? Is that provider in network or out of network with that health plan? Because then number 2, we're pooling the patient benefits. And as you all know, knowing whether or not that patient's in or out of network is dependent on, it has a great effect on the benefit structure. So we're doing that. Number three, we are pulling the pricing information that we've created. And that was just a recent development in the last few years in which the health plans have put out machine readable files in which they put out their pricing, their contracted rates for their in-network and out-of-network by NPI. So once again, remember how in step one, we find out the NPI of the billing provider. We're using that same NPI to see what their contracted rate is for that specific health plan for that specific drug or procedure. We're grabbing that pricing directly from the health plans. And then number four, we're able to move forward with, is there a PA requirement for this drug? And if so, we can tell the hub to take action on that. And then we're looking at coverage on step number five, in which we're combining the necessary, criteria, you could say, that the health plan has for that drug. And if, according to diagnosis codes, if it would be covered or not. And then finally, what we're doing in all of that is putting all that together to deliver back to you folks the patient responsibility and also what the health plan is going to be paying and reimbursing for that drug. And we give all that information in real time. It takes about 15 to 30 seconds. And like I said, we set up an API between us and our client. And then you can move forward with hopefully getting that patient onto therapy as quickly as possible. So hopefully those steps, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions regarding that, and happy to talk to you folks after the webinar.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Perry. That was a great overview of what we do at CareViso. Now we'll go ahead and jump into Kathleen D'Angelo's section. I'll be providing a little bit of information about her experience. So Kathleen brings 18 years of experience in patient services. She has shepherded different patient support service programs through times of transformations as products matured and competitor landscapes changed. Her tenure in this area has been many developments within the approach to annual reverification and renewal. In addition to all of that, she has supported the integration of additional verification services to supplement program core services. So Kathleen has a very wide and vast expertise and experience in this market and this industry. Now we'll be moving on to her recorded session. It's about 7.5 minutes where she'll talk about how you can navigate reverification season and strategies you can use for that.
Hello, my name is Kathleen D'Angelo. I'm a Senior Director at Archbow Consulting, here to talk to you today a little bit about key considerations for annual reverification. So despite the fact that annual reverification normally takes fewer than 8 weeks to complete, AR preparation can overshadow the majority of the year. The success of AR can define a hub, its ability to succeed or not in the face of complexities each new year. And so every year, as one AR season ends, the cycle begins again, urging us to prepare for the next. As we close on the third quarter of 2024 and face the approach of Blizzard 2025, it's important to take a step back and reflect on how we can best position ourselves for success, not only in 2025, but beyond. By revisiting fundamentals of annual reverification, you may discover alternative strategies that could significantly benefit your organization. The Blizzard inevitably disrupts patient service programs, overwhelming staff, overwhelming their processes, slowing down response times, and potentially impacting patients' ability to obtain their medications, especially if a coverage gap were to arise. Today, I'd like to discuss 3 key considerations that could help you prepare for your ongoing Blizzard strategy. These include defining success, key drivers to prevent delays in therapy, determining your annual reverification model, and detailing your communication plan. First off, let's talk about defining success. As we all know, reverification season brings the annual challenge of how to meet the urgent needs of patients and HCPs in a cost-effective way. Yet there's no one-size-fits-all solution for executing this process across various therapy types and administration methods. As teams are ramping up for the 2025 AR season, now is the perfect time to start thinking ahead to 2026. it is important for each manufacturer's patient services department to fully understand the needs of their customers when developing their re-verification strategy. Under-delivery can impact a brand's reputation, while over-delivery can lead to unsustainable costs. Finding the Goldilocks zone for AR execution, balancing that speed and cost, requires a deep understanding of the broader market. Even if a customer genuinely needs all verifications returned within 8 weeks because of the therapy dosing regimens, if competitors are consistently completing AR in 4 to 5 weeks, it may pressure the organization to adopt a tighter timeline. When evaluating customer needs for annual re-verification, it is essential to consider the specific details that add value during this critical period. Different products will have varying needs based on factors like therapeutic area, payer landscape, and route of administration. For example, high-cost oral oncolytics for patients under 65 may require a focus on commercial copay support and enrollment, while provider-administered products with complex tiering may need emphasis on prior authorization and exception processes. While the goal of benefit verification is to offer a comprehensive view of a patient's benefits, during annual re-verification periods, the program can exceed expectations by quickly sharing the most impactful detail, even if fewer are provided overall. Internal discussions and alignment are crucial, as internal stakeholders will play a key role in assessing the success of the project that year. Now that you've taken time to define success, we can start looking at your actual model. Just as the definition of success varies by product or organization, the AR model is influenced by several factors, including the size of the patient population and capabilities of the patient services hub vendor. Whether your hub is insourced or outsourced, it is crucial to assess if it is structured to handle the full volume expected for AR. If your team has the skills, the experience, and the scalability needed for success, maintaining continuity by keeping the same team can be highly beneficial. However, if this has been a challenge in the past, exploring complementary solutions might be worthwhile. Electronic benefit verification services with advantages like payer connections, machine learning, and even interactive AI are often used to provide the necessary scalability. As you consider potential vendors, there are a few key questions to address. What specific services does this provider offer? Can they deliver the critical components needed for success? If there are gaps, how much effort is required from the hub to bridge them? What is the expected speed of completion? And how seamless is the integration? Can both the hub and the service provider build within the required timeframe? And can this integration be utilized year after year? Consider whether this integration could be beneficial throughout the entire year or if it's only necessary during the first quarter for AR season. Beyond building a model to manage the volume, it's crucial to adjust the rules of engagement to ensure that the hub can focus on preventing therapy lapses. Field teams and provider offices are accustomed to regular contact with the hub. During this time, they should be directed to appropriate resources for routine updates and given clear instructions on when and how to escalate issues if necessary. Finally, communication is the third but equally important factor to review. With the right cadence and depth of communication, both internal and external stakeholders will be equipped with the information they need to feel confident about the upcoming season. These specific areas are pre-annual re-verification communication. What communication needs to occur early before the annual re-verification period starts to set clear expectations? How early should this start? What information do offices need? And what is the best method for delivering that communication? Hub and patient services communication. Ensure effective and timely communication between the hub and the patient services team during re-verification. What is important for you to hear from the hub? When do you need to hear it? When do you need to share that with others within your organization? And with that in mind, how early do you need this detail? Expectations, such as summary reporting and escalation protocols, should be outlined and agreed upon well in advance. Finally, internal reporting. What do you need to provide the right level of detail to the appropriate stakeholders, ensuring that they have confidence in the process and understanding its progress as the months progress? With a thorough and conscientious review of these considerations each year, manufacturers have the opportunity to continuously refine and improve their annual re-verification plans to create the best experience for the customer and ideally limit therapy lapses in the new year.
Great. So that was Kathleen's section. We hope that was helpful. I know she went into a lot of great detail about that, and we will also be providing her contact information at the end if anyone has questions for her, as she is unfortunately not live with us today. But moving right along, we will pass the mic over
Hello?
to Rachel Gallen, who is our Chief Strategy Officer, and she'll be talking about what is needed to prepare for re-verification season.
Thanks, Lauren. I'm going to go into a little bit of detail on preparing for re-verification season if you're thinking about partnering with Careviso or Seeker, and because we've had a number of clients who are really interested in getting everything ready in time for this upcoming blizzard season. And we get asked the question all the time, what is needed? How long is it going to take? And really, it depends on, the number of products you're looking to kind of have partnered with Careviso, and then also the complexity of the products, because we have a great product and analytics team who work so hard at this, but they do need a few weeks. And so we're just going to go through kind of step by step some of the key things that they're looking for, and then talk through, how to best kind of get that over to them. So the first thing is a product list, just the codes that are involved and then the dosage and the strength. This is something that can easily be set up in the system, and then that's really kind of the first step of making sure that we have the correct codes listed, and then also having everything set up properly. The next one, and this sounds a little bit simplistic, but it's actually such a crucial part, because we have found at Careviso that payers, a name mapping system is very beneficial to have, because we've found, I think there's probably hundreds of ways to call United Healthcare. So we've taken all those different ways and mapped that to make sure that we are pulling the correct benefits back. So if we can get a look-see of how does your specific company call all the different payers that you work with, we can make sure that's mapped appropriately, and then we are giving you the right information back. And lastly, our physician NPIs and specialties, just kind of what physicians are your ordering providers, and the specialties, because that will depend on the benefits that are pulled back. It does vary by specialty, so our product team will go and do some research on the correct benefit pulls to do based on the ordering provider, to make sure that the benefits are lining up with the return. And most importantly is that just a contact person at the patient services that we can work with, because to really give an in-depth understanding of all the different results fields that Seeker returns. I think I was talking to our head of product yesterday, and there are 50 distinct fields that come back through Seeker, and really kind of understanding and working with the project manager just so that they can be able to relay to the correct teams what the fields mean and how to best utilize it. So all this takes a little bit of time. I would say, of 4 to 6 weeks would be a great time period to really get going. And it depends on whether or not you want to have an API built for the eMed BV solution, or if you're going to be returning a spreadsheet file, just all of those, making sure the setup is corrected and completed ahead of time.
Great. Thank you, Rachel, and thank you for providing us with that information. As a heads up to our viewers right now, we will also be sending out these slides in a recording, so you will have all this information on hand after the fact. So with that, we can move on into our live Q&A session. Once again, to reiterate, we unfortunately do not have Kathleen D'Angelo on the line with us today, but we do have Rachel and Perry from the Careviso side that can answer any questions. I will go ahead and be checking the Q&A function, so please submit your questions there and we can answer them. I'll give everyone a few seconds just to get that together.
I have a question, Rachel. Can you give us 100 examples of how to give United Healthcare or no?
Oh, well, we have seen, well, obvious UHC and then U healthcare. That's been another one. So, but we can go into the next 98. But I think our product team would also be good to dig into that.
That was a great question, Perry. We did get one in. So this reads, what should the goal be for annual reverification completion? 8 weeks or 4 weeks to avoid any patient therapy lapse?
I think it really depends on the therapeutic area, right? So the strength of Carvizo and Seeker is that our tool that you can utilize will enable you to shrink that time frame, right? So if you're struggling to get it done in 8 weeks, by utilizing our tool, we're very confident that we're going to be able to decrease that time for you.
And I think, Barry, it's important to kind of point out, I think, you know, the goal of reverification is to make sure there isn't any patient lapse in therapy. So sometimes if, you know, you find out that a patient has changed their insurance and you don't have the correct insurance to kind of pull back the benefits and the coverage, then there are next steps that the patient services team will have to do by contacting providers and contacting patients. So I think the more time you can, the quicker you can identify those particular cases and give time to go and grab that information. Also, we'll make sure that all patients are able to stay on therapy.
Great. We did get another question also. What reverification checks can begin prior to 1/1/25? So January 1st, 25.
I think probably reverification checks, you can make sure that your physicians are their network status, because I think for Medicare there is a time frame of where you have to give kind of Medicare in or out of network. So you can begin to look for those if a physician has left a particular network. I think that is something that can be done ahead of time. Perry, I don't know if there's anything else. I mean, having, you know, your up-to-date codes to make sure nothing has changed.
Yeah, I think all that's set up, right? So the network, and then, like you said, just setting it up with the mapping would be, you can do that obviously before and get it set up. The benefits is really, the nice thing about Seeker is on January 1st or whatever, while you're watching the football games, I guess, we could go ahead and start the benefit pools, and that would be, you know, the best way of going about doing it, but have everything set up. And as you're all working towards reverification or Blizzard, now the next couple, 2-3 months, all those things can be established prior to, even tested, and then you're ready to go live come January.
Yep. And I think depending on health plans, sometimes that they will give advance notice to prior authorization requirements. If that is changing, certain ones don't give any advanced notifications, but there are some of the bit larger ones have like a 30 or a 60-day PA requirements. But for the Carvizo Seeker solution, that is maintained and updated and in real time.
Great question. And yeah, anyone else have any questions? The Q&A function is great for that. Give it a few more seconds if anything else comes in. Okay, how is annual reverification success defined for a brand? How will I know if we have completed it successfully when it is all over?
I think that feedback that you receive from your client and the physicians and your field representatives will be a clear indication of how well it's received, quite frankly. But establishing appropriate service level agreements, if you will, prior to and then delivering on it will be, crucial. So like I said before, with Seeker, it is a tool that you can utilize for your staff so that you can deliver the best care possible for each and every one of your patients. Rachel?
I think also coming up with, as Kathleen said, kind of your objectives for success ahead of time, maybe even just with your staff, so that, you know, you guys can have a good working relationship, because it is, so busy during those couple months. So to make sure that everyone has their alignment and expectations of who's taking care of what, who's in charge of kind of, working with the providers and the phone calls, and then, who's working with the partners. So just kind of setting that up in advance, and then, probably also maintaining budgetary considerations as well. I'm sure, all of our managers out there probably want that to be a key component. So you stick within budget and within timelines.
Awesome. Great. Well, yeah, it looks like there's no other questions at this point. Thank you, Rachel and Perry, and thank you for submitting the questions to our audience. We can go ahead and move along into the next slide. We'll be providing some contact information if you have any questions that arise after the fact. So yes, as a whole, thank you all for being a part of our webinar. Thank you for being here today. Again, if you have any further questions about Seeker, Careviso, or Reverification season, you can contact us at info@careviso.com. We additionally would like to extend a huge thank you to Kathleen D'Angelo and Archbow Consulting for sharing their insights and expertise on this topic and in this space. If you're curious about the work that they do or the services that they provide, please contact them at info@archbow.com. Once again, we will be providing this information in a follow-up email along with a recording of the webinar, so you can go back and review it if you so want. We also would love to have any questions after the fact. We're always around to answer any questions, help out, or let you know how our solution could be a help to you. So again, thank you all. We really appreciate your time, and have a great rest of your day.